I want to introduce you all to Audrey from Texas, who I met in a Facebook group. In the group, she shared that she healed herself from fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, IBS, depression, and anxiety, and lost 100 pounds on a raw food diet. So I just had to ask her to share her story with my community. I love stories like this. They are so inspiring for us all who are trying to heal our bodies and release toxicity and excess fat in dangerous areas. We spoke on a Saturday afternoon, and she had just come back from shopping at the farmer's market. That's where the conversation starts. Listen in on this value-filled conversation from a 15-year raw vegan veteran. How was the farmer's market today?
It was awesome. It's a little bit early for a lot of stuff, but I did get some zucchini, some green onions, some herbs. So yeah, I was excited.
That's cool. That's in Texas, right?
Yes, I
The
live in the hill country outside of San Antonio.
Very cool. So you said on a Facebook group that you healed yourself from fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, IBS, depression, and anxiety, and lost 100 pounds on a raw food diet. So I just want to find out from you, like, what inspired you to go raw 13 years ago?
Well, um, it was actually 15 years ago that I first started looking into raw, and the internet was just beginning. There really wasn't much online, but I was really suffering from fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and IBS were my worst symptoms. And I happened to, back in those days, there were forums. And I happened to run into a forum where somebody was talking about dysbiosis in the gut, an imbalance in the beneficial flora in the gut. And I was intrigued because I had gone to a naturopathic doctor and we had done a test on my flora and it was imbalanced. And so I was like, interesting. And in this article or post, it said that what the beneficial flora in our gut really love the most is fresh, raw fruit and vegetable fiber. So that kind of sparked an interest in me because I was looking for ways to try to help the IBS through the gut flora.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that I was going to try for a few days of eating nothing but vegetables. I don't know why it didn't occur to me to eat fruit. It just didn't. But for 3 days, I ate nothing but raw veggies. And it wasn't easy because eating raw veggies for 3 days is just not that pleasant.
Yeah.
However, I was shocked in how much better I felt overall. Not only in my digestion, but my fibromyalgia pain was almost totally gone just after 3 days. And I was like, what is going on? This is amazing.
Yeah.
So then I started looking into, and I can't even say Google because I don't even remember if Google was around back then, but I started searching online for like raw food, raw vegetables, eating raw, and to see if there was anything about it. And sure enough, I ran into a very small handful of people online that were talking about eating raw at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that, yeah, people do eat all raw. Not only do they eat all raw, but they, generally get better on it and feel good on it. So that's when I discovered kind of like I call it like the gourmet raw type of approach, like, a lot of high fat foods, not so great combinations, lots of dehydrating, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on that type of a diet, which I now consider to be less than ideal because as I progressed, I moved to a more fruit-based, low-fat, much more holistic sort of simple type of raw approach. But in the beginning, that was more than enough for my body to heal considerably. And I was just shocked and amazed at, how much better I felt.
Mm.
So I stuck with it.
That's awesome. So were you vegan prior to that? The
I
3 days
was.
you were?
I
Okay.
was. I had been a long-term junk food vegan, very, very junk food.
Okay.
I was obese. I was 100 pounds overweight.
Ah.
So you can definitely be vegan and be very, very unhealthy. My friends used to make fun of me that I was a vegan who never ate vegetables, because it's true. It's so true. Unfortunately, the way my parents raised us and the way we ate in the home, I never appreciated fresh fruits and veggies. We just didn't. We ate a lot of processed foods, and so that's what I, gravitated towards. So I probably ate everything that was vegan except for fresh fruits and veggies. It was ridiculous. Like, I ate a lot of fried foods. I practically lived on chips and salsa. I'm not kidding. It was really bad. I ate a lot of, I loved like fried zucchini, fried mushroom, I mean, we're supposed to be talking about raw, so I'm not going to talk too much about everything, but junky stuff, chips, candies. I mean, really, really bad junk food vegan. I was a vegan for ethical reasons, and I honestly did not even give one thought to it for health. Like, it just didn't even occur to me. It's so funny because I was a vegan, but I hadn't made the connection that what you put into your body equals your health.
Right.
Like, that was foreign to me. None of my doctors talked about it. Nobody talked about it, So I had to later make that connection.
Wow. So how'd you get started then getting into eating vegetables? I know you researched some stuff online, and so you did the 3 days, but how'd you make the jump for yourself to commit to those 3 days?
Right. I was in so much pain. I was suffering so much that I had really, really gotten to the point to where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. And as much as I love to eat, and believe me, I love to eat, mm-hmm. It was just not worth it. It was not worth it. Mm-hmm. And a long time ago, I had explained to friends why I didn't like to drink very much. And my philosophy was always that if something that I did took longer for me to recover from than the fun I had doing it, it wasn't worth doing it to me. Like, it just mm-hmm. didn't make any sense. And so I kind of applied that philosophy to food. And I told myself, well, what's the maximum amount of time you can spend enjoying something that you eat? I mean, honestly, if we eat really, really slowly, maybe we can stretch out a meal to 30 minutes to an hour. Mm-hmm. And to me, 30 to 60 minutes pleasure of eating something wasn't worth days and days of pain, because I quickly found that the more raw I went and the longer I was raw, that my body really responded to it, and I felt so good. But as soon as I tried to go back and eat a cooked meal, even a relatively healthy cooked meal by my previous standards, like say maybe some rice and beans or something, mm-hmm. the fibromyalgia pain immediately would come back. The very next day I would have pain and inflammation and fatigue again. Mm-hmm. And I had to run into that wall many times before I finally, stepped away from it 100%, because I was really hoping I could be like 75 to 80% raw and still, function pretty well. That was my goal. Mm-hmm. But no, very quickly, my body was like, nope, I don't want none of that, none of it. So, every time I tried to have even a healthier cooked vegan meal, it was just it wasn't worth the pain. And I was living in Seattle at the time, which has some amazing vegan and vegetarian restaurants and options. And so it was a struggle at first for me to give up my favorite cooked foods, because obviously, being 100 pounds overweight, I had a serious food addiction. Yeah. But quickly, because as much as I love to eat, I also hate being in pain. Like, I was a real baby about being in pain. Like, I refused to suffer. Like, didn't want to be in pain. I hated it. It wasn't worth it to me. And I didn't want to be on drugs. And even the drugs really didn't help that much. They really couldn't even touch the pain. Yeah. And so it was kind of a no-brainer for me to decide to just go ahead and stay 100% raw, because that's how I could function the best. And that's how I, felt better. And I really did it to stay out of the pain and to heal my digestion. What I didn't expect was the side effects of getting rid of anxiety and depression. And I wasn't really conscious that I was depressed, but mm-hmm. when I felt the difference, now I knew I had anxiety because I had gotten to the point where I was having the crazy panic attacks when I was driving. For some reason, they always happened when I was driving. I guess the stimulation of driving, I don't know. But I actually had to limit my life so much that I could not drive on a freeway. In Seattle, there's a lot of bridges, and driving on the freeway over a high bridge like would always trigger a panic attack. And after 3 months, within 3 months of going 100% raw, the panic attacks were gone, and I was so much happier. And I didn't even realize I was depressed before. I thought I was fine, but it was like this. I liken it like this veil was lifted off of my eyes, and this weight was lifted off of my shoulder. And I'm sure a lot of that is the weight loss and just feeling better in general. But I think from all those inflammatory foods that I was eating, all the processed foods, all the processed sugar, all the fried foods, all that junk, I probably had a lot of inflammation in my body. And when your body's inflamed, your central nervous system and your brain is also inflamed, which can greatly contribute to depression and anxiety. Your neurotransmitters can't fire the way they're supposed to in the presence of all that inflammation, all that. And so I was just like amazed at how joyous I became. Like I really was like filled with joy. And like the circumstances of my life hadn't changed other than what I was eating. So it was beautiful. It was amazing. And I quickly realized that for that benefit alone, it was worth it to stay raw for me.
Mm-hmm. So what tips do you have for people who are trying to get started, like eating 100% raw, like to overcome those food cravings and stuff like that?
So I really, really believe that for most of us, especially if we're coming from a disordered history with food, food addiction before, and it's almost impossible to grow up in this culture without having some unhealthy attachments to food. It's just the nature of our culture. We put so much emphasis on food in our culture, So one of the things that really helped me when I got started, because I felt deprived. I mean, I really did. It was hard at first. So what I did is, because remember, I was coming from a place of being a person who really thought that I didn't even like fruits and vegetables to begin with. So it was hard for me. So I sat down and I wrote a list of everything that I could think of that was a raw fruit or vegetable that I actually enjoyed, that I actually liked the taste of. And I was really shocked at how long that list became. And I realized that I do like fruits and vegetables, and they do taste yummy. And I didn't need to feel deprived, right?
Yeah.
So that was number one. And number two was this came from one of the raw teachers at the time, and I wish I could give them credit for it because it really helped me. And I can't remember who it was, unfortunately, but they said, when you think about people who eat cooked food, they generally only have like between 5 to 10 go-to meals that they eat and prepare on a regular basis. So all you have to do is come up with 5 to 10 go-to raw meals that you really enjoy, that really actually genuinely satisfy you, and you will have replaced your old favorites, and they will quickly become your new favorites. And I was pretty surprised how quickly that came to be true. I had an absolute 100% guaranteed craving buster smoothie that I did. It's really more of a milkshake, and I could never tolerate it today. But for people just coming off the standard American diet, you can tolerate it probably. So what I did was, when I was really, really craving cooked foods, this always worked. I would blend up frozen bananas, coconut milk, and almond butter, raw almond butter. And blending that up made the most delicious and decadent creamy smoothie, and it would always bust any sort of cooked food craving. And so that helped me quite a bit. And when I had savory cravings, I developed this really yummy thing that I think I came up with on my own. I would thinly slice up an eggplant lengthwise, and then I would put a little bit of natural salt on it and whip up a simple raw marinara sauce, tomatoes, a little bit of bell pepper, some onions, some oregano, basil, and dates, and sun-dried tomatoes, and blend that all up really nice and yummy. And I would smooth that on top of the eggplant slices and dehydrate those for anywhere from 14 to 18 hours. Get them nice and crispy. And they make like these little pizza crisps that are so yummy. And then I would put sliced avocado and purple onions with a little bit of salt on top of those, and that would also kill just about any craving I had. So those two things the first year really, really helped me.
That's interesting too, because the dehydrated stuff, like I know for me, I get the savory cravings, and the dehydrated stuff takes so long that it's like by the time it's ready, my craving is gone.
That's true. That's true. Now, for short-term cravings, the other thing that really helped was guacamole because it's so flavorful. You know, because I used to love Mexican food. I'm from Texas, and so you know, whipping up some yummy guacamole and some salsa and putting that in romaine, that always helped too for a quick one. But you know, having something both sweet and savory on hand that for that you know you can whip up and look forward to, that was a big thing. We do have to nurture and take care of our cravings for a while. We have to indulge them. Like, I don't think you should muscle through it and just try to immediately go, you know, 80-10-10 low fat style and, you know, no salt and no spices and all, you know, only fruit and all that. I mean, that's just not realistic for most people. I have gradually you know, drifted over to that because that's how I feel best now eating. But when you're first starting out, you got to keep yourself entertained with food still because it's, you know, it's an important part of our life and our culture still. So the other tip is be prepared. Whenever you're going out and about, if you're going shopping, if you're going to a social event, if you're going to, you know, whatever you're doing, pack way more food and yummy food. Way more than you could possibly imagine you could need because you don't know how long you're going to be stuck out for, and you don't want to be tempted to just have to grab something, you know, quick. So pack ahead, plan ahead, shop frequently, every couple of days, stock up. You know, planning ahead really, really makes a big difference. And, you know, take all your food with you, take way more than you think you could possibly need. So you really, truly can be satisfied and full and filled up when you're out and about. And for the first couple of years, I avoided restaurants. I would not go to restaurants with people. It wasn't worth it to me to even like sit there and feel deprived. Oh my God, I can't have my favorites, blah, blah, blah. So I would make plans with friends before or after and just explain to them that it's really important for me, you know, to maintain my health. I don't want to be triggered or tempted, you know, by food. So I'll just meet you before or after, you know, whatever meal that you're, you know, planning to have out. Now, since then, I've loosened that up a bit, and I go out all the time with people and just enjoy their company while they're eating. But when I was first going raw, it was easier for me, you know, not to go out with them.
That's a great tip. So, like, that's a good segue too into the next question. How did your family respond to your decision to go raw?
Well, you know, it's funny because at first they were very supportive of it because they saw that I was feeling better and it was obvious that I needed to lose weight, and I lost weight very quickly on it. And so everybody thought it was great. But then I went through a period where I had got too skinny for a while, and then they were concerned. And now I put my weight back on, and so now they're happy again. At first they thought it was a little odd, and they did the whole, well, you know, why can't you be okay with everything in moderation deal? And I had to explain to them that moderation didn't work for whatever was happening in my body that created the fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. Like, moderation was not working for me. Like, it, you know, honestly, had I had my own desires, like I said, I would have been thrilled to just be able to be 75% raw, or, you know, 80% raw, whatever, which I think is probably fine for most people without chronic health conditions. They're going to thrive on that. As long as the rest of it is whole food and plant-based, they're going to do great. But, you know, I have to stay 100% raw to be functional and to be out of pain and to function at my best. So I'm willing to do that. So over the years, they have gotten, you know, very accepting of it, and they understand that that's, you know, that's what I need to do to stay fully functional. And so now it's really a non-issue.
Do you prepare meals for your family? Do you have kids and
I do not. Okay. I'm lucky in that my children all have 4 legs and are fur babies, and they're vegan too. But no, I do not have to prepare meals for people. But for people who do, I used to do raw food coaching, and I had a lot of people, particularly women, that were in that situation that had to prepare food for their family or felt like they had to prepare food for their family. I understand, the dynamics of that is very can be very tricky. Of course, you don't have to prepare anything for anybody. If you don't want to, you can make your family eat whatever you eat, but that's, may not go over so well. So, I know that that's very challenging and difficult for most people. I was lucky that I don't have to deal with that. But what I can say is that as I progressed in being raw, and when I was like hanging out with my family or people that I dated, I do enjoy cooking. It's fun. I can cook really good, yummy cooked vegan meals, and so I have many times cooked vegan food for people and have been not tempted by it at all, because after you've been 100% raw for a while, the cooked food doesn't even seem to be real food. Like I can prepare it, I can be around it, I can look at it, and it doesn't even it's not tempting at all, because it's not even in the realm of possibility. It's not real food for me. So this mind shift happened that I can be around it now without being tempted by it, because it doesn't even seem to, I've been raw for so long now, it doesn't even seem to like real food anymore.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'm not 100% raw. I'm high raw, but I resonate with that completely when it comes to like non-vegan food.
Yeah.
And even some of the smells is just like, like burnt flesh and stuff like that, that it kind of turns my stomach now. And I did not start off as an ethical vegan. Like I ate plant-based for health reasons, just because, so the
Yeah.
opposite of you, but it's like the same effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you've been doing it for a while, it really doesn't seem, you know, it just really doesn't seem to be real food.
Yeah, yeah. So how long did it take you to heal yourself and to lose 100 pounds?
Okay. So the healing with the fibromyalgia pain happened very quickly. I was shocked. I can say literally within a month, 4 weeks, most of the pain was gone.
Wow.
Within the first 2 weeks, I would say probably 75% of the pain was gone. And I hope this
that's
really
at
gives hope.
100% raw, right? You were 100% and
Yes,
then it was
at
okay.
at 100% raw at that time. Yeah. So, within 2 weeks of being 100% raw, the vast majority of the pain was gone. Within 4 weeks of being 100% raw, it was probably 90% gone. 2 months after being 100% raw, it was 100% gone. I had no pain anymore. So that went away really quickly.
Wow.
And I have worked, when I was doing coaching, and I coached a lot of people with fibromyalgia. Honestly, those people, because of this diet so easily and quickly reduces inflammation, they usually notice a vast difference within just the first couple of days. You will notice. It's amazing. It's just amazing what the body can do once you get out of its way, once you start giving it our natural diet. Now the fatigue took longer to resolve. The weight loss was very fast. I probably lost an average of 10 to 20 pounds per month the entire first year. So the fatigue took about, I'd say probably it definitely started improving right away, but it was about 3 months when I noticed a big improvement in the fatigue, and it was bad. It was really bad. There were some days when I literally could not get out of bed to drag myself to the shower. We're not talking about like, oh, I was tired most of the time. No, I had a clinical diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, meaning bedbound and debilitated. And so I was thrilled that within 3 months, I was probably 75% better with the fatigue. which is amazing for
Yeah.
people who have had chronic fatigue syndrome for years. I mean, people just accept that they are never going to heal from that. So that was amazing and a huge blessing. And then it probably, the other 25% of my energy probably came back slowly over the course of the next 18 months. And the weight was totally gone within 18 months. Most of the weight I lost the first 10 months or so.
Wow.
So yeah,
10 to 20
within a
pounds
year, within a year, I was a completely different person. Completely different person.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
That's 20 pounds a month. That's 4 pounds a week.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And I was eating high fat, and I was eating as much as I wanted. I wasn't eating like I am now, which is 80-10-10 style, low fat, high carb, mostly fruit and greens. No, I was having nuts and seeds and dehydrated stuff and gourmet raw food, and a lot of fat. So I don't know that everybody can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that everybody can eat unlimited amounts of fat and drop weight like that.
Yeah.
But my body did. Compared to where I was coming from, which was a horrible, horrible diet of processed foods and fat stuff and, everything like that, my body just responded really quickly to it.
So with IBS specifically, you had that also. Did you eat or do anything specific with the 100% raw regimen to overcome that?
I did. I paid attention to food combining. Even though I could eat fats that first year and feel pretty good, I did pay attention to some basic food combining. Number one, always eat melons alone and on an empty stomach. Mm-hmm. Always, always, always. Or else you're going to suffer, believe me. And so I only ever had melons. Either I was going to mono meal melons all day long, or I just had them for breakfast. They're perfect for breakfast because you have a completely empty stomach. Mm-hmm. And then wait several hours before you have anything else. The other thing is I never, after the first year, to help improve my digestion, I quickly learned that you don't want to mix fats and fruits if you have a sensitive digestive system, with the exception of citrus. Citrus mixes well with fats, but with the exception of oranges and limes and lemons, don't mix any sweet fruit with any fats. That really slows down the digestion because there's just such a huge difference in the time of digestion for a fat versus sugar. Mm-hmm. And so if you really want to optimize your digestion, do that as much as possible. But like I said, for the first year, I still noticed a lot of improvements even with the bad food combinations. But if you are concerned about your digestion, you want to heal a digestive issue, definitely following those two simple rules will help a lot.
Yeah, that's great advice, food combining. How exactly did a raw food diet help you overcome depression and anxiety, though? Like, what do you think did it with
like food? I said, I think in most people's situation, it's from inflammation. The chronic inflammatory response in the central nervous system creates inflammation in the brain, which makes it impossible for your brain to work properly. It's all inflamed and irritated and upset, and the neurotransmitters cannot work properly when your brain is inflamed. There's a lot of research on that. And secondly, here's the other thing. Because quite a bit of our serotonin production happens in the gut. When we improve our digestive system overall, there's a lot of serotonin receptors in our gut. Sometimes the digestive system in the gut is actually called the second brain. Mm-hmm. And so immediately when we start eating the diet that we were naturally meant to eat, which is, fruits and vegetables primarily, smaller amounts of nuts and seeds secondarily. When we eat those foods, the microbiome or our beneficial flora in our gut improve so much. They instantly start coming alive. The good bugs start coming alive, and the bad bugs start dying off because we're feeding them what they thrive on, which is that cellulose and that fiber from fruits and veggies. And so that helps your gut heal, which helps your serotonin production increase, which naturally is going to get rid of depression and anxiety. It's a simple matter of, like I said, getting out of our body's way. Our body always has the ability to heal itself. We just have to support it with the diet that we clearly were meant to eat. I don't care whether you believe in evolution or whether you believe in a creator and in the Bible's story of creation. Whichever way you look at it, it's clear that we were meant to eat fruits and vegetables on this planet. There's no other way. I don't care how you look at it, whether you want to look at it in science or whether you want to look at it from the Bible. Either way, the message is clear. Eat fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And we'll thrive. We'll thrive. That's all we have to do. Get out of the way, get out of the way of our body.
So what's been the most difficult part of your raw journey so far?
I'd say probably the first year or two was the cravings from having been a food addict. And I have to say, I still struggle with it sometimes. Not in that I crave cooked food, but because I may not be hungry, but I want to eat something just because I want to eat it,
right.
even though it's going to be raw. Or maybe I want to eat too late at night, or maybe I want to eat something fatty when I know I had something fatty yesterday, and I'm not going to feel that great if I have, overt fats 2 days in a row. So I still, after all these years, struggle with it. But I think that's the hardest part, is addressing your own relationship with food and moving from a place where food is not an entertainment, it's not a friend, it's not a lover, it's not a distraction. But having that viewpoint that food is to nourish and replenish your body, and that's it. I haven't gotten to that point 100%, but I'm much further along on that journey to getting to that relationship with food, to where it's not, it's not an emotional thing. It's not a addictive thing.
Yeah, and I love what you said in the beginning about, like, when you're first starting off, it's okay to not be like extreme right off the bat. Still cater to your cravings and find what works for you. So you eventually will get there,
Yes.
And you're proof to that. So that's awesome. So
Absolutely.
What do you eat in a typical day now?
So, like I said, I'm mostly very low fat, high fruit, and greens, and so I'll usually have either a melon of some sort. Unfortunately, I'm not the biggest fan of watermelon. I don't know, unless they're really, really good in the summer. So I usually, when I do melons, we'll do honeydews or cantaloupes. I'll have an entire honeydew or cantaloupe for breakfast. Or if I don't have a melon, I'll have a large banana-based smoothie. And so a large smoothie for me means, because you have to eat enough to stay satisfied and to, not be starving. So many raw fooders who are trying to do fruit-based make the mistake of not eating enough fruit in general and calories in general. So, a smoothie for me is probably anywhere from 5 to 8 bananas, depending upon their size, and a date or two for extra sweetness, because I really like them sweet, and then half a cup to a cup of whatever fresh or frozen fruit I have around, depending upon, my taste. One of my favorite combinations is bananas, dates, and frozen cherries and frozen blueberries. Oh my God, I can have that all day, every day. It's my favorite smoothie. It's so delicious. I do use some raw moringa powder. Moringa is an amazing green, very high in protein. It has a full amino acid profile. It's amazing. Has a lot of really good minerals and vitamins as well. You can grow it yourself. You can eat it. It's similar to spinach, but a much higher nutrient dense green. And I love putting some raw moringa powder in my smoothies. And that's the base of my smoothie is usually the bananas, the dates, some coconut water, a little bit of coconut water, and then whatever fresher or frozen smoothies I have around. Sorry, let me turn this off. And so then for lunch, I typically have another large smoothie, or sometimes I'll have apples with date sauce. I love that. Make blend up a quick sauce of dates with a little bit of water, and just plain like that is good. Or if you're not opposed to using spices, a little sprinkle of cinnamon and nutmeg, and then cut up a bunch of organic apples and dip it in that. It's a really yummy lunch. So I'll sometimes have that, or another smoothie. And then for dinner, I almost always have a large savory salad. I really love how I feel on extended just fruits. Sometimes for a weekend or a week or two, I'll do nothing but fruits, and that's how I always feel my best. But I acknowledge that we do need the greens for minerals. We really do. And I love my greens because I love savory salads. I love savory as well as sweet. So I usually have a large, very large salad. So large, like, you know the salad bowls that for most families is like serves the whole family. Well, that's my salad bowl for me. So I usually do like probably 1 to 2 pounds of greens. In addition to, I'll usually put in some zucchini and onions and tomatoes, cucumbers, red or yellow or orange bell peppers, carrots, radishes. I like them, making them really, big and really savory. And I have a number of raw salad dressings that I've developed over the years that I love, that I make. And that's usually it. Fruit all day long, and then a big salad for dinner.
That's awesome. That sounds very similar to Fully Raw Christina's eating plan.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So were you ever concerned, like in the beginning, about getting enough protein? Everyone asked that question. So were you concerned about that?
No, I guess because I was a vegan for so long,
okay,
I didn't have that fear. You know what I mean? Because I was already a vegan, and obviously I was very overweight. I wasn't missing any protein.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a concern. I knew that it wasn't an issue. As long as you're getting enough calories, it's impossible, literally impossible, to be protein deficient as long as you are getting enough calories.
So what's your best resource for recipes?
I have come up with a lot on my own, but I do draw inspiration sometimes from people online. I love Tanny Raw's YouTube videos. She has so many amazing videos. I don't do much dehydrated stuff anymore, but she has some amazing cracker recipes. One that only has 2 ingredients, which I love, which is just blended up red or yellow or orange bell peppers and onions. Now I add a little bit of spices to it. Delicious raw crackers. You dip that in some guacamole, and let me tell you, that's going to kill any cooked food craving you have. I also like Fully Raw Christina, although a lot of her stuff has too much fat in it for me, so I can't do all that fat. I don't feel well with nuts or seeds. I can do a little bit of seeds. So I prefer to get my fat from either avocado or durian because they're fruits, and I feel better with those. But I can occasionally do some hemp seeds or raw tahini. But I feel best with just fruits and veggies and not nuts and seeds. They tend to be inflammatory. Not just for me, but for a lot of people. They can be inflammatory, particularly the nuts, because most people don't know that you really can't find raw nuts. The vast majority of nuts have been heat treated. So I do better with seeds. Hemp seeds I do well with, and raw tahini I do good with. One of my favorite dressings is so simple and yummy is some orange juice or lemon juice with a little bit of tahini and some green onions. So delicious. One of my favorite salad dressings. Really, really good.
I love recipes with like less than 5 ingredients. That's awesome.
Yes. And another one of my favorite, I'll give you a few of my low ingredients. Another one of my favorites is orange juice, avocado, and green onion. So simple, so yummy. So delicious. Another one of my favorites is blend up a red or yellow or orange bell pepper. So basically, if I say bell pepper, just know I don't mean the green ones. Don't eat the green ones. Eat any other color of bell pepper, but not the green ones. So I do bell pepper, green onions, and some hemp seeds, and a little bit of natural sea salt. I do use a little bit of natural sea salt or Himalayan salt. My adrenals need it. I do really well with it. I'm not one of those purists that think that we shouldn't do salt or spices. And so that's really super yummy. That's, 4 ingredients. So bell pepper, what did I say? Bell peppers, green onion, hemp seeds, a little bit of salt. Super yummy. Really yummy.
Very cool. So what's your food budget like? I know Christina said hers is like $20 a day. What does yours come out to? Have you ever quantified it?
Mine's a little bit less. And I don't hold myself back. I have been blessed to, as a single person, I make more than enough to buy whatever I want. So, I really appreciate that blessing and, the abundance that we have here in the United States to be able to have affordable fruits and veggies. But I splurge on things like sprouts sometimes when I want. Like, I forgot at the farmer's market today I bought some sunflower sprouts, which I love. Those are expensive. I do buy durian. That's expensive. I buy as much organic as I can find. So, of course, that tends to be a bit more organic. A bit more expensive. So I probably spend a little bit less than Christina. So I spend on average probably $100 per week, maybe a little bit more on the weeks that I buy durian. And as much as possible, if I can find it organic, I'm gonna buy it. I don't go hungry because it's not organic. Like, I eat non-organic stuff all the time, but if you can look up online, like the 12 most contaminated foods, those ones I never buy non-organic. I can't remember what all of them are, but strawberries are on there. Apples are on there. I think bell peppers are on there. Anyway, I never buy any of those non-organic, but as much organic as you can afford, definitely do it. It is important. It's a big difference in your health. And my goal is to move to the tropics one day. I've taken several vacations to places like Hawaii and Puerto Rico, and the quality of the fruit there is amazing. You really do feel it and feel so much better and feel so much more amazing. And I love the way I feel on tropical fruits. Tropical fruits have just a different quality to them, like things like mamey and sapote and, things that we don't get in the continental U.S. as much. Although South Florida is amazing for fruits as well. I lived in South Florida for a while.
So I calculated that comes out to about $14 a day. And that's basically, would you say, because you stick to your staples and you're eating pretty much the same thing for breakfast every day for the week?
Yeah, probably. In the wintertime, the majority of my diet is, bananas and dates, and those are pretty affordable, even organic. I'd say for people on a budget, focus on bananas and greens. You can't go wrong. They'll keep you going for a long time, and they're cheap.
Yeah. So B12, a lot of people ask me about this. Ever since I've been vegan since 2008. I personally have never taken a B12 supplement. Is that something that you do or have been doing?
I do. I do, and I think every vegan should, because even the vast majority of meat eaters, it's very easy for them to become deficient in B12 for various reasons, mostly because of how we process our food and because of our levels of cleanliness and sanitation in our society.
Right.
And just because the possible effects of B12 deficiency are so dangerous and damaging, I don't want to alarm anybody, but they're pretty scary. So I figure as an insurance policy to use a methylated form of B12. is important. Now, I only take it like maybe once a month, literally. The B12 that we buy, it's very, very, very high dose. So you don't need a lot of it. Your body is very efficient at storing it. So, for most people, taking it a little bit, like even just a quarter of the dose, because it's high dosage. You don't need that much at one time. Take a tiny quarter of a dose, once a week or even once a month is fine. I don't take it every day. I don't think we need to take it every day.
Mm-hmm.
I have never tested low on it, but as an insurance policy, I think it's a good idea, just in case, because I'm sensitive to supplements. I don't do well with many supplements. I'm always deficient in vitamin D. There's something about my body. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why I got sick to begin with. But for example, I cannot tolerate even vegan sources of vitamin D. I just can't. My body doesn't like supplements. Mm-hmm. But I use a vitamin D lamp in the winter. You can buy vitamin D lamps. Vitamin D is hugely important to our health.
Yeah.
Just as important as B12. So if you can't get a lot of sun, or if you're a person of color, definitely need to think about getting your vitamin D. It's important if you can't be out all day long in the sun, like we're meant to be out in nature, right? And once again, returning to nature.
Yeah.
There's these vitamin D lamps that we can buy that work really well. But yeah, I figure better safe than sorry. Have a little bit of B12 occasionally. It's not going to hurt you. It's never hurt me. And I'm very, very sensitive to supplements. And my body, doesn't mind it. So I just figure, why not?
So how long have you been taking B12? Like how many years?
I knew from being a vegan before that I should do it. So I've probably been taking B12, like I said, not often, never more than a couple times a month, probably, for 15 years now.
15. Okay.
Yeah.
And are there any other supplements that you take?
Well, I am a proponent of herbs. Whole sources of herbs my body does love. And so a few years ago, I had a situation where I got sick and was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And I took herbs to help me get over that. Between the raw vegan diet, lots of detoxing, and herbs, I was able to get off of that. So there are some herbs. I've kind of become an amateur herbalist, and the healing power of plants is amazing. So I'll do like extra oregano and thyme because they're really nice antibacterials, natural antimicrobials. I never would advocate antibiotics, but there's a whole host of natural antimicrobial herbs that we can take advantage of when we need to, and that are just amazing. And the healing power of plants and herbs is just fascinating to me. It's really amazing, what we can do with that.
Yeah.
Chamomile, I love chamomile. Stinging nettles is an amazing green, which is naturally antihistamine, which is just like extremely full of nutrients that is really, really good for the body. High in iron, vitamin K. So yeah, there are some herbs that I really love and appreciate and take on a regular basis.
Awesome. So in your opinion, what's the key to longevity with this lifestyle?
Honestly, I think in terms of the long term is getting past the first 2 to 3 years. Those were the toughest. Just keep telling yourself that, just like with everything else. I mean, if you were trying to learn a new language, you're not going to get it in the first year. It's going to take a while of immersing yourself in that language and in that culture to really become fluent in it. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with making a major lifestyle change like this. I believe it was Margaret Mead, the anthropologist, that said it's easier to get a man, and I assume she meant people in general, to change his religion than his diet. And I truly believe that. Like, it is very deeply ingrained in us. It's very intimate. If you think about it in the terms of the way we relate to our environment, right, and to things outside of us, food, it's a very intimate and personal thing. And so you are going up against a lot of both cultural and personal conditioning when you decide to drastically change the way you eat. So give yourself some time. Like, really acknowledge that maybe the first 1 to 3 years is going to be difficult. It certainly doesn't have to be. But if you're coming from a place like I was, where food is a major issue in your life, you might have to really be prepared to make it a priority and pay some attention to it the first few years. And after that, it's going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be second, just like, what am I trying to say? It's going to be like your second nature. Is going to be so easy. You don't even think about it. I don't even have to think about it. Like, I have my routine down. I know what to shop for when. I know what to eat in what season. I know what to bring if I'm going on a trip. I know, like, it's second nature. I don't even have to think about it. Never mind stress about it anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, you just fall into that rhythm where it becomes second nature, and it's very easy and very doable, and you're not going to struggle with it anymore. It's just a part of your life. Just a part of your life, like your other diet was before, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think, like, everything is just super helpful and very inspiring. And I know a lot of people will get a lot from this. Are you still coaching people?
I got busy with other things, and I'm not, I don't have my website up anymore or anything, but if anybody does need some help, I would be happy to speak with them and consider helping people, particularly anybody with any chronic illnesses, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I'll be happy to work with them because I know, I know how much they're suffering, and I want to give people hope that you absolutely 100% can get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Audrey. It was so great talking to you.
You're very welcome. Have a good rest of the weekend.
You too. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.